humility to express it in words, to have a few moments to thank the Bonner students, you young folk, you alumni of Bonner. I represent, as do many of my friends, the community of Trenton that I love dearly, that I chose as my home because it reminded me so much of the place where I grew up. And so I am honored to be asked to say a few words to really celebrate with you this decade and to acknowledge how profoundly appreciative so many of us are for your intrepid and courageous and visionary and generous and loving and innovative and brilliant and thoughtful and caring and industrious and diligent and remarkable work that you do in this community. We love you all. It is not it's not really possible to compress into a few moments just how much you appreciated by the folk who really, really matter. And that is the folk in our society who are most needful of consideration, of respect, of the way you look at them, of the way you tutor them, of the way you hand them something, of the way you care for them. I am here because of how much you care and how much you show that. I could really give a damn about honors and scholarships and things like that. This city is filled with them. This country is filled with people who are celebrities and famous and who have titles. What I care about is people who care about other people. And I am here, just like Mr. Meisel said, out of respect. Respect is an interesting word, isn't it? It has this R-E, performative on it. That's the first part of it. And that second part, spec, is about how you look at something. And so respect literally means to look again, so that you might see the value that is in somebody. Now, I'm going to say this because it's really my place to say it. I don't work for the College of New Jersey, and after I say what I have to say, I may never get the opportunity to work for the College of New Jersey. I've done some adjuncting here, and that may be enough, but I need to say this. This is very important. It is easy for us to forget why, right, we are Americans, why we are given the privilege to study, why we are free, why we are entrusted with the investment of our parents and institutions who care about it. It is easy for us to forget why we are here. When I start to forget, I do, like many of you young scholars do, I think about people that I have read that have inspired me, right? I think about folk like Danielle Allen, for example, who is another young person, a classical scholar. Danielle Allen wrote an incredible book on Plato, actually, and she wrote Why Plato Wrote, is what Danielle Allen wrote. She also wrote a book called Prometheus and the World of Prometheus and some other things. But Danielle Allen has 2 PhDs now, right? She has a PhD from Oxford and a PhD from Princeton. And now she's at Harvard with an endowed chair, and she's not even 40 yet. Now, you might think you'd be impressed with Danielle Allen's 2 PhDs, right? She's not impressed with that. When Danielle Allen was teaching at the University of Chicago with her 2 PhDs from Princeton and Oxford, one in politics and one in classics, she was bored to tears and decided that she needed to find something to do in the community to make all of that education meaningful. And what did she do? She went to teach for free in a public school in the worst part of Chicago with 2 PhDs. You follow what I'm saying? So I listen to people like Danielle Allen, just like I'm inspired by people like you. And just in case we forget whether we are college presidents or provosts or deans or whatever, Danielle Allen reminds us of the purpose of paideia. That's what the Greeks believed in their heart, was the spirit of education. Not just the process, but the purposiveness of education. Paideia. They used it to shape their society. So Danielle Allen tells us in her great work, Why Plato Wrote, 3 things that I want you to remember. The first answer to the question of why Plato wrote is because he was inspired by somebody who raised hell and who broke all the rules. Plato wrote because Socrates died. Plato wrote, you understand me? Because Socrates was corrupting the youth and jacking up the society, asking all the tough questions and embarrassing people who thought they were somebody. And he was so inspired by Socrates that he says, you know, we got to tell this story. A young person, Plato, he wasn't even supposed to be in the class. It was his brother, Daniel Allen, right, will tell us, that was supposed to be doing it. But no, Plato tagged along with his older brother and learned some stuff from Socrates that didn't just change Athens. It changed the world. So the first reason that Plato wrote is because he was inspired by a person like Wayne Meisel, inspired by a person like Pat Donahue, inspired by a person like Mort, inspired by teacher, inspired by somebody who cared enough to ask tough questions and to corrupt the minds of the youth enough that they changed the society they live in. Check out Daniel Allen when you get a chance. The second thing Daniel Allen tells us about why Plato wrote is that he realized that in his society that poetry and style and celebrity, right, had become the way things were. But that Athens was being divided catastrophically among the richest people and the people who had nothing, right? It was have everything and have nothing kind of folk. And it was destroying the society. And so Plato saw this played out in the life of Socrates, right? And so he was inspired. Why? Not because he came from the poor. No, he was wealthy. He was privileged like many of us. But he was inspired by what he saw to want to change the society that he was in. So Plato wrote, secondly, because he wanted to inspire his community to be different, to address its challenging problems, right? And to address it creatively and artistically. You understand? Because the art and the science and the rhetoric that they had become corrupted by a form of style that we still celebrate in the lyric tradition that comes to us through. Well, I don't want to be pedantic here, but my point to you is that he saw the corruption in the economy, the corruption in the art, the corruption in the politics, and he created a new genre of writing, a new genre of expressing things, so that folk could be inspired by this. What do we call it, Dr. Mort? Philosophy, right? This love of wisdom, this love of truth, this love of asking the tough questions. The third reason that Daniel Allen teaches us that Plato wrote, that you exist, right? Two, the reason you do what you do, is that he believed that individuals acting collectively together in a democratic society could change the world for the better. And so he wrote to inspire that which we take for granted. He wrote to inspire political change. Now what Daniel Allen helps us understand, that you all, right, understand, were you even more courageous than Plato? Because one of the mistakes that Plato made is that he published in places that were far away from his home because he didn't want to get too much trouble at home. But not you Bonner folk. The thing I love about you is that you do your business right around the corner. Let me tell you something, and I'm just an ordinary dude from Trenton right now, right? That this college started in Trenton, but that its current business model has taken it to the suburbs, right? And they're doing a lot of stuff to build up the suburban area, and they have a business model that's going to help them be financially successful, but culturally a failure. But you are challenging that paradigm. You are saying you cannot forget where you came from. You cannot forget the importance of what it is to serve. You are doing that because of who you are. You are doing it because you are like Plato in this creative way. But you are doing it because you are inspired, of course, by Corella and Bertram, right? What does Corella say about her husband, Bertram? She says he came from nothing. He was penniless, but he never forgot where he came from. What did she say about their life? We lost our fortune twice. And we had nothing, but we remembered when we were penniless that we could still give. We could still feed people. We could still serve in soup kitchens in 1929. We could still help almost nobodies, the people that other folks thought were nobodies. You're inspired by that kind of legacy. And you are not just the hope of Trinity. You are not just the hope of this fine institution, seeking to sustain, right, its own commitment to truth and righteousness and caring of everybody, seeking to be a bridge between those have-everythings and those have-nothings, seeking to live out the real American dream that everyone has an opportunity. You are that bridge. You are. You are the ones inspiring those 1,000 of your peers to get involved in stuff that really matters by having relationship with people that they would otherwise be afraid of. You are the sinew, not the Roebling Bridge. You are the bridge between nothing and everything, between despair and hope, between prison cells and college rooms. You are that hope. I will never forget it. You inspire me. You changed how I measured my own church's effectiveness in the community, why I added hours to what they were supposed to be doing if they were going to really be Christian. You changed me. You changed my commitment. I thought I was doing something on the school board, and I realized that I wasn't working enough with the people who really needed the help, and I went back into prisons to teach, even though I had 2 degrees. You changed me, but not just me. Those ball players, those folk that other people look down on, you make a difference to them. Never let anyone tell you that because what you do is not a building and can't always be measured in spreadsheet statements and in bottom line profit loss analysis. Never let anyone tell you what you do and what you believe is not important, because you don't just make a difference, you make all the difference. And people who are most needful of us to be the country that we were founded to be appreciate you. And when you don't even know it, kids talk about what you do. When they don't even know your name, they say, she sat with me after school and taught me things that my teacher did not. When you have forgotten the little thing that you did, a cookie here to a child who is starving at home because her dinner is her lunch at school. When you forget, please remember. Please remember why Plato wrote. Please remember why this program matters. And please remember that you are the bridge. Never forget. Thank you.